right, well, listen, we got a whole crew in here right now, actually. This was like on the fly. We got the emails. We respond, and these guys were here within seconds. So if ever there's an emergency here, these are the people that you want to talk to because
Feel free to pull those mics down in front of you.
You guys can bring the mic a little closer to you. Are your earphones okay? You can hear? Yeah. Everybody can hear fine? You got good audio? You don't need anything higher, the volume?
Mic check.
Mic check. Joe? All right, LaShawn, let's hear a mic check. You can hear?
Mic check.
All right, and Mike with a mic check.
Sounds good.
All right, beautiful.
Mic check.
All right, there you go.
Beautiful.
All right, so listen. So what we want to do here is just first off introduce everybody. As you guys know, here on the Mike Newcomb Show, the Valley's Progressive Talk, 1480 KPHX, we often like to profile what's happening here locally, too. And Eric and I went down originally to Cesar Chavez Plaza when they had the original rally, Eric, correct? And you got some...
Yeah, we filmed it. It's on YouTube.
We got some film. It was on YouTube, and it was the original kind of Occupy gathering. And at that time, I think there was thousands there throughout the day. I mean, I would think...
fairly crowded, yeah.
Yeah, I think the official police estimates totally underestimated it, but I think throughout the day, if you were to put it all together, there was well over several thousand people who were there that day. And I actually took my young daughter there too, my teenage daughter, to give her sort of a little insight into democracy in action. So we have some representatives here today from the Occupy Phoenix movement, as well as Lucha. Okay, and we have Joe Fitzpatrick here. Joe, welcome on board.
Thanks for having me, Mike.
Great to have you here. And LaShawna, she's here too, LaShawna Coleman.
Thanks for having me on.
Great to have you, LaShawna. And then Michael Royer also with Occupy Phoenix. So, Mike.
Thank you, sir.
Great. Well, listen, guys, let's just go from right to left here. And let's start off with you, Joe. I got a little flyer here, and it says, it's time to stand up to, drum roll. All right, Bank of America. Okay, and I agree with you. Let me tell you something. It is a bank that I have historically banked at, and I'm in the process of trying to figure out now how to get rid of all of my assets and ties to Bank of America, maybe go to a local credit union or something along those lines. And I know a lot of people are exercising that option, moving to local credit unions. But it says here it's time to stand up to Bank of America for foreclosure, and this is on March 15th, 3 p.m. So, Joe, give us a little thumbnail sketch of what this is all about here for our local listeners.
I mean, for me, Bank of America has been a thorn in my side for years and years. I remember back in 2009, I was part of a class action lawsuit against Bank of America, and since then, things have just escalated more and more. So what this is about is the economic collapse from 2008. And so we're focusing on Bank of America, and it's in collaboration with Occupy Our Homes. It's going to be a national week of action this week. And so along with Occupy Wall Street, Occupy Phoenix, Lucha, we're going to Bank of America to hold them accountable for their actions, for what they've done as far as the millions of people they've foreclosed on. Oftentimes it's been done illegally, and they are just manipulating people, kicking them out of their homes. And, I mean, a lot of people tend to feel powerless in this situation.
Sure.
So we're coming out here together to share these personal stories, show that these are personal attacks on a national level. And we're not helpless. We can stand up to this giant of a bank and say, enough is enough. So that's what it's all about, is coming out, standing up to Bank of America, and just holding them accountable.
Now, what's going to happen on the 15th? Are people going to coalesce and go to local Bank of America branches to voice their displeasure, or are people congregating at a centralized location? Or both?
Could be both.
Yeah, I mean, as far as in Phoenix, we're going to be meeting at 3030 North Central. It's right off the light rail.
Thomas.
Thomas and Central. And we are going to share personal stories. We're trying to get some families to share their personal stories, how they have been manipulated and coerced by Bank of America, being kicked out of their homes, oftentimes fraudulently, illegally.
Sure.
And we're going to share their stories, and then, depending on who we're able to work with, go into Bank of America and demand that they deal with these people. Like one family we're working with right now, they've been in court for 2 years with Bank of America over some lost paperwork that Bank of America claims. And it's time that we say, hey, take care of this problem.
Sure.
You've created it. We're not just going to stand by and let you do what you want and have...
Right. I mean, obviously, that's one of the great American dreams, is to own a home, and many people spend their whole lifetimes trying to save, earn money, and then finally get into a home, and then you have this economic collapse, and then unfortunately they often said that the banks were too big to fail, but I guess in this particular case they're saying that the average American citizen is too little to matter, and that's not quintessentially what America is all about.
Exactly.
So let's go to LaShawna. LaShawna Coleman's here. She's with the Occupy Phoenix movement, and LaShawna, welcome on board.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming today. LaShawna, how did you get involved with this particular movement here?
Well, I came to the Occupy Phoenix movement after losing my home to Wells Fargo Bank. Been in court with Wells Fargo Bank for 2 years now, and basically lost my home to robo-signing. Found out that the signatories on the assignment of deed of trust didn't have the authority. They were employees of DOCS, and they had signed millions of assignments of deed of trust claiming to be officers of various banks. Even the assignor on my assignment of deed of trust had not owned any real estate mortgages since 2007, and that entity is Sand Canyon Corporation. I'm still in court with it, going to go file another lawsuit and see what happens, if I can maybe at least collect some damages.
Yeah, and it's pretty sad, because I remember, I might be a little older than you, but I remember back when I was younger in the day, when we used to have local banks, you actually liked going to the bank. I remember I had my little savings account, and I had my little paper route, and you would go in, and each week you'd put in your savings, and you're like, wow, I went from $25 to $38 or whatever. But the bankers knew who you were. They were personal. They were friendly. They were willing to help you. But what you speak directly to, LaShawna, is the fact that here you are now having what's illegal, these robo-signer kind of things.
Yes.
Just this automation, if you will, of just trying to accelerate getting people out of their homes, not to help people, but to do fraudulent mortgages or just sign things. And I want you to comment on that. I mean, how do you feel about that the banking industry, it's no longer a personal relationship with that particular corporation? You can hold on for a second here, because I hear the music here, and then we'll get to you, Mike, as well. So we're here with Joe Fitzpatrick from Lucha. We're also with LaShawna Coleman from Occupy Phoenix, and Michael Royer, also from Occupy Phoenix. There's going to be a big rally, a gathering this March 15th, starting at 3 p.m. at Central, Central and Thomas, right? 3030 North Central Avenue in Phoenix. The fight begins at 3 p.m. So definitely join the crowd there. They're saying it's time to stand up to the Bank of America foreclosure tactics, the robo-signing, kicking people out of their homes. It's an American dream to live in your home. So definitely come to that rally, bring your stories, have your stories be heard, and we'll be right back with more of the Mike Newcomb Show in a moment. Just stay with us. Alrighty, welcome back, my friends. 33 minutes after the hour, we're here live from 1480 KPHX, the Valley's Progressive Talk. And this is, of course, the Mike Newcomb Show, and I am truly yours, Dr. Mike Newcomb here, live from the studio. And we have our special guest in the studio right now, Joe Fitzpatrick. He's from Lucha, which is
Living United for Change in Arizona.
All right, very nice grassroots organization here, community organization, looking to represent the will of the people. And also LaShawna Coleman and Michael Royer here with Occupy Phoenix. Now, let's get back to you, LaShawna. We were talking about the fact that you actually were kicked out of your home, correct?
I was.
You were kicked out of your home. Now, do you have children, family, husband, single?
I do. I'm a single parent. My son is now 18, and I was at the time caring for my 82-year-old father, who was in the home with us, and he had short-term memory loss and seizure disorder. I tried to get a restraining order, and they just didn't care. So, yeah. So.
And did you try to have, I'm sure you did, try to have conversations with representatives at the bank to explain your personal situation, your extenuating circumstances? I mean, were they receptive to that, or?
Absolutely not. No, not at all. No.
So they just kind of looked at you as a number, not as a human being, not as a person. Right.
I actually, Wells Fargo Bank and American Home Mortgage Servicing came forward and both claimed to be entitled to payment under my note and deed of trust, and that's when I asked for a rescission, which they did not want to honor. So, and then when they started the quote-unquote foreclosure proceedings, that's when I started to do a little bit more research and looking at the signatories, because when they started the foreclosure process, they didn't have the assignment of deed of trust.
Right.
And so that to me was kind of, fishy.
So they didn't want to hear anything about your personal story?
No.
At all? Or
no.
About your relative who had medical conditions, and this would really not only be a burden, but could jeopardize his health.
Right. But they're not into social justice. The banks, they're not into social justice. What they're into is making money, and at whatever cost.
Even if it's at the expense of someone else's misery.
Exactly, exactly. And actually, the attorney admitted to, Wells Fargo Bank's attorney, that is, has admitted to basically not owning the note and the deed of trust, and the judge still gave him my house.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is unbelievable. So what do they do when you get foreclosed upon? I mean, how much time do you have? How do you collect your things? What kind of time frame do they give you?
Well, usually it's 30 days. It's 30 days. When the
That's
sheriff
it, up
comes
and
around,
out of
that's,
there.
yeah. Up
And the
out.
sheriff usually comes by to
Right.
enforce that? Wow.
That's
So
what they do.
unfortunate. Well, I'm very sad to hear that. I'm very happy to hear, though, that you're actually speaking out and letting people hear your story, and hopefully heightening the awareness in the community so that this doesn't have to happen to other people in the future. Now, Michael, you're also with the Occupy Phoenix movement here as well, and you showed me this. Yeah, you can put it a little closer if you want, but you showed me this flyer here. You're very happy to also note that it is a union
Yes, sir.
flyer as well, so that I'm sure the unions would be very happy
Union made.
to hear that. So how did you get involved with this, Michael?
I came down October 15th, as many people did, and it was like American kind of movement, but it's a global movement too, and you just kind of felt it. You felt it coming, and it's time, and it's still there. There's still a lot of people that are aware of it. In New York, it's still pretty kicking in other places, and here it still is. It's just a lot of people are caught up. A lot of people are busy working. It's understandable.
it's
It's a tough
difficult.
economy. There's just a lot of reasons, but you'd be surprised how much people, and maybe some people would be surprised, how much people keep saying, we support you, we support the message. And I think if we keep to it's a message for the people, and anyone can really get involved.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Well, look, regardless if there's 10,000 people occupying Cesar Chavez Plaza or not, the bottom line is that the movement, once it started, there's no question that it changed the whole complexion, the whole dialogue in this nation. I mean, the dialogue went completely in another direction, and I think that in and of itself is a lasting, thing that you can attribute to the Occupy movement, whether it's Phoenix or whether it's New York or
Right.
Yeah.
globally. So I would not judge the movement by how many people are still stationed outside a plaza. As you said, people do still have to earn a living. You have to make ends meet, and it's obviously the banks aren't helping with that.
Right.
So clearly that's understandable. So
I think though too, it spreads and it evolves, and people have taken this and gone into organizing and actually going into the community, and we're trying, and could definitely use some more help and more hands on deck, but it really does evolve. We're into working groups, and that's what this is a part of. This is a organic working group that said, hey, let's try to adjust a foreclosure issue. And then it came on, let's protest the bank, because it's a national call of action.
Sure.
March 15th. And, yeah.
all right, excellent. Now let me go back to you, Joe, because you also said you're with Lucha, and that's an organization that's relatively new. I don't think I've heard of it before. So when did this organization come into existence?
Been around for about 2 years now here in Phoenix, and I mean, they got involved with Occupy Phoenix to take on this, take on the banks, and I mean, kind of how you were talking about, how Mike was saying how Occupy has grown, and there's been so many actions like Occupy Our Homes is this national action that's come out of this, and we're starting to produce tangible results to not give people power, but to empower individuals so they can empower themselves.
Sure.
There was one woman in Washington, D.C., Bertina Jones, and she got together with Occupy Our Homes, some community organization, the name escapes me, and Occupy DC, and they actually occupied her house.
Right.
And all the press, all the attention they got on this foreclosure, the bank finally decided to work with her.
Sure.
And so we're out there producing these tangible results to show people that we are not alone, and that's what Lucha is doing as a members-led grassroots organization. We're going into communities, talking to people about the issues that are, crushing their communities.
Sure.
Because these foreclosures, I mean, it's beyond insane what it's doing to the individual.
Oh,
But
absolutely.
They're killing our communities as well. I mean, you shut down a house, you're taking away the property value of all your surrounding neighbors. Your tax revenue goes down in that area. So what happens? Our budget gets even tighter and even tighter. All our services are cut, and then you see things like increases in crime with all these vacant homes.
Sure.
So
not to mention the most important thing from my perspective, which is the human element, the suffering. You know, to be displaced from your home, to not have a place that you can call home. Look, we all saw The Wizard of Oz and Dorothy clicking those heels and saying, "There's no place like home. There's no place like home. There's no place like home." And I think that's something that just resonates with all of us at a very primal level. You know, that whole sense of community, that sense of belonging, that sense that we're in this together.
Yeah.
And when you have these big corporations like we talked about, where they feel they're too big to fail and we're too little to matter, and that when they do fail, we, the people, have to bail them out. You know, there's something inherently wrong and unjust about that. Yes, Michael.
Yeah, well, and I want to comment on that statement you make. I totally agree, but I think we need to turn it into, we are too many to let a few bad apples ruin the whole bunch. You know, we're just too many. And really solutions-wise, real quick, boycott these bad institutions. I mean, we really got to start thinking like this. I mean, it works. Your money affects, and you can contribute. You're that link in the chain that if you stop contributing to that machine, it could stop. So move your money.
Ask Rush Limbaugh about that.
Yeah, we were just talking about that off air, though,
Right,
because the whole controversy with Rush Limbaugh with Sandra Fluke, I'm sure you guys are aware of what happened. That it started out with a few advertisers, and then a few more, then it was a few dozen, and now it's up to over 140 advertisers will not place their ads on the Rush Limbaugh show, and then also there's a 2-week suspension now from Premier Networks of placing ads on Rush Limbaugh's show. So it just goes to show you that one thing where he's going out calling this woman a slut, a prostitute, a whore, all unjustly. It shows that when people get together, and the beautiful thing is, guys, about what you're doing is that maybe 20 years ago, 30 years ago, it was a lot harder to organize. You just needed a lot more manpower, you need a lot more resources. But today, with the internet, with social networks, I mean, it's a lot easier to reach out to people of a common mind and really, like you said, make a difference. We did a story here too, Eric. I don't know if you remember, a little while back, about the woman, the elderly African American woman. I think it was I don't know if it was in Georgia, Tennessee. Where was it? Atlanta, yeah, in Atlanta, and she was like 100 and something years old, 103 years old.
They tossed her out.
Well, they were trying to toss her out, and then she had her daughter living with her, who was in her 80s, and that story had come to light. And I think because of the activism of people who alerted the local community, exactly like you guys are doing,
I remember
to
what
the
it was
justice.
now. The police refused to do it.
Yeah,
remember?
the police would not go in. The police just said, this is wrong. This is absolutely wrong. And I think that's what you guys are trying to do here today, is to heighten the awareness, let people know that you're not just a number. As LaShawna said, she had a loved one, a family member to care for. She had a child, and we're just not numbers. There should be a certain partnership, if we are compassionate capitalism, if you will. You can have a bottom line, but you should also do well by the community, and that's what I've always said about double bottom line capitalism. So listen, we want to thank you guys for coming on the air today. So if people want to find out a little bit more, I know this is coming up this Thursday, right? Is that correct? March 15th,
Yep.
Thursday at 3030 North Central Avenue in Phoenix. It's off of Central and Thomas. People will be congregating there. And then what's going to happen after that? Are you guys just going to be migrating elsewhere, or?
I mean, this action is just a start for empowering people to take on these banks. With Lucha specifically, in the weeks to come, we are going to have a series of community meetings as far as how we can stand up against banks, how we can tackle this foreclosure issue. If people have any questions, want to get involved, I mean, you could call Lucha directly at 602-388-9754. The Lucha's website is luchaaz.org. Check out the Facebook page, occupyphx.org, or the Occupy Phoenix Facebook page. But I mean, the best thing to do is just come on down, see what we're about, share our stories. Everybody is welcome to come down there, all inclusive, and this is just a start.
Now, this is not in a facility per se. It's just, is that you're meaning right at the corner?
Right outside Bank of
So
America.
it won't be too hard to
Oh, you'll see us.
see people there.
We were out there flyering today, and it's a really high traffic area.
No, I think it's awesome, guys. I think it's absolutely phenomenal what you're doing. It's an act of selflessness, but it's also an act to say that hey, we are all in this together. That's what this country is founded on. We the people, in order to form a more perfect union, not
Right.
buy the
Absolutely.
corporation in order to form, the most profitable, company in the world. So we really appreciate all that you're doing. Thank you for coming by today.
Thank you.
And that's Joe Fitzpatrick from Lucha, LaShawna Coleman from Occupy Phoenix, and Michael Royer also from Occupy Phoenix. So thanks a lot, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us. Come on down.
Absolutely. All right. Well, listen, we'll be back 45 minutes after the hour. More of the Mike Newcomb Show in a moment. Stay with us.